Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 21 of Brewing Conversation. My name is Matt Ross.
I'm Charlie Van.
And we are here at Steam Theory Brewing Company's opening day, or if you want to call it grand opening.
Grand opening. It's kind of like baseball season.
I guess so, yeah. I guess it's still going on. So right now we're actually drinking the Mind the Gap beer from Steam Theory. Brewed just mere feet from us. What do you think about it?
Man, I love this beer. I mean, it's an English brown. I like the smoothness. Now, usually when people look at browns, they think like a lot like stouts because it's dark. It kind of has that coffee look to it.
Right.
So some people may stray away from just because based on the appearance, they think that's too heavy. No, an English brown is super smooth. It's actually one of my favorite types of beer to have. And I feel like they've hit the nail on the head right here with the Mind the Gap. I see a lot of people, and of course, Matt and I have been here for like several weeks now, just dropping by since our last episode with Chuck Humala, who's the founder. And once they release this, I see a lot of people enjoying Mind the Gap. It's easy. You would say it's pretty smooth, easy drinking, wouldn't you?
Yeah, for a beer that, when you look at it, looks pretty dark. You know, it's the light doesn't even go through it. So when you look at it, it looks intimidating, but it's not. It drinks really smooth. I would say sort of like a Ziegenbock, if you will.
Yeah.
And it's a great drinking beer. You know, it's not really bitter. It's pretty balanced for what it is, and it's one of my favorites. And we actually had one of their beers that they released. You said yesterday the Saison was released.
The Saison, yeah.
And that's called
La Resistance.
Yeah.
La Resistance, because Saison is French. They had a different name for a while. I can't remember. I mean, it was kind of like a placeholder name, but then they decided on La Resistance. And,
right.
It's really easy drinking as well. Like,
yeah, and it reminds me a lot of a Hefeweizen, and they're kind of similar in color and even in taste and profile. But I really think that this one for them it's great to drink right now out in the heat. I wanted to get the Mind the Gap because I felt like I was ready to go up because we've been told by Chuck himself that it's always good to start from light to dark.
Guys, we're gonna go inside and enjoy air conditioning. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
So that is actually right there. Tiney, she has a podcast coming out, Grape and Grain. So we're out here actually on a patio out here on Steam.
Yeah, so people are going to come by. They're going to interrupt us, and that's fine. That's not a big deal. But we were actually wanting to talk to her, but I guess
she's going to be inside. We'll probably grab her. She's with the Guide Life, so she does a lot of craft beer following. Follow her. Their podcast coming soon, Grape and Grain. I love that title. I know Matt does because he's in the wine business.
Yeah. I thought it's a great name.
Yeah,
really, because they talk
really
about
good.
wine and beer, so it's fantastic. Now, we're actually outside, like Charlie said, but looking in, it's booked in there.
It is busy, which is exciting for a grand opening here. If you're wondering the location, you're like, man, I need a nice beer or wine. They have wine here. They have cocktails. They have great food. It's over in Trinity Groves in Dallas, Texas, closer to downtown, a little bit outside downtown.
Just past the Margaret Hill Bridge.
Yeah, just past the Margaret Hill Bridge. Great food. Matt, last week, you had the hanger steak. Tell me about that, because it's pretty juicy.
The hanger steak, it practically melted in my mouth. I kind of wish that I would have got it either medium rare or rare.
Yeah.
But I just got a medium. I always get steaks like that. But as Chuck said, it was it's a pecan smoked steak. And it was phenomenal. They place the steak neatly. They kind of stack it up, kind of like a teepee almost, around mashed potatoes. And the mashed potatoes sitting on a bed of collard greens, which are amazing.
Yeah.
And it's all covered in a sauce that complements everything really well together. So, when you get that kind of food at a place like this, it kind of blows you away. And the staff here, they're trained to tell you, if you get this beer, it pairs really well with this dish. And I think we mentioned it on the previous podcast. The menu is seasonal. The beers are seasonal.
Yeah.
It will change every 4 to 5 months. So there's always that to look forward to. And of course, as we get closer to winter, they're going to be coming out with heavier beers.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, the food here is 5-star. Michael, the chef, I mean, he's done such an amazing job. I mean, our episode with Chuck, we had the burger, which now is on the lunch menu.
Right.
The burger is phenomenal. I came here opposite after that and had the halibut. It's a fish, really good. And then last week I had the pasta, which was smoked yellow sauce. Oh man, if you like anything smoked, I mean it's great. And of course that's when Matt had the steak, and nothing here is bad. I mean everything is great. Also the dessert had the bread pudding. If you like bread pudding, phenomenal. They have this PB&J dessert. It's like a peanut butter mousse. Melts in your mouth. We both had that on an episode with Chuck. Phenomenal. So if you're a foodie, this is a place to be. If you love beer, this is a place to be. If you like cocktails, they have a good range. They also have wine. Today's very special because they do have their Bachelor cocktails. The reason why we say that is because the investor here is Chris Harrison. You may know him. Host of the ABC's The Bachelor Bachelorette. He is here tonight. He will be joining with us this evening. And so they do have Bachelor-themed cocktails, I know.
Right. Yeah, Chris is a very approachable guy. He actually came up to us when he saw the setup and said, and asked us if we're doing a podcast. We're like, actually, we are. Yeah. And he said, great. Let me know, and I'll come join you guys, and we can talk. And then he came back later and asked us if we were doing it. So, and that was just a few minutes ago. So he'll come back out, and we'll have a word with him on how he got involved in this and what made him want to invest in a company, because he is a Dallas native, and he actually went to the same high school as Charlie did in Lake Highlands.
Lake Highlands Wildcats, go Wildcats, anybody in the Lake Highlands community. So it's good. I mean, it's cool to see that he's invested in this and he's getting involved with this experience here. Like Chuck said on our podcast recently, this is an elevated craft experience. So it's not just about just beer, but the beer here is great. Like we said, we're enjoying the Mind the Gap. But just the atmosphere overall, the restaurant aspect, the cocktail, the wine, everything. And everybody's so personable here, so and it's packing. I mean, we're looking at it right here. We're on the patio, which is odd. The patio's already started filling in. Inside is really filling in, which is awesome. I think everybody. I mean, this is a good spot of Dallas, and so yeah, everybody's pulling in. So we're excited.
Yeah, and I think with this area, what they're doing with it, they're appealing more to the millennial crowd. Steam Theory has 4 floors of apartments above them. They have plenty of people to come and hang out. And looking around right now, there's people all over the street. So it's only a matter of time before Steam Theory becomes the place to hang out. I mean, if you're looking around, there's not a lot of places like Steam Theory in this immediate area. So it's only going to be a matter of time before word of mouth and their reputation will reach out and grab people. People seem to be staying for a while, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
More people on inside, of course, because we are in Texas. It is August. It's hot. People would rather be inside. Can't blame them there.
It's a brisk 96.
Yeah, which, isn't too bad. But I've noticed, as we're nearing towards 7 o'clock now,
it's cooling down a little bit. It's
starting to get a little better. We're in the shade.
It's not as bad. If we were in July, we'd be toast. But
no,
right
we
now,
wouldn't do the podcast.
Yeah, we would,
hard
we
pass.
wouldn't survive past 10 minutes.
Right.
But we're out here on the patio and just enjoying the Mind the Gap. Had a couple of the beers. Had the Cryo, When Hops Cryo. I love that IPA. So for those who usually don't like it, IPA, it's because it's pretty usually bitter, would you say?
Right.
And you had When Hops Cryo last week as well.
Yeah, I did like it.
It's very smooth.
And as some of you that have listened to the show for a while know that Charlie and I aren't the biggest IPA guys, but Chuck told us before we even had them that they're balanced. They're not bitter, they're not super hoppy, they're balanced. And he was right. They are not in your face, they don't overpower you, they're very balanced. And as we all know, IPAs typically are on the higher end of the AB volume. So they're smooth drinking. So I would have to say, so far, my favorite is the Equilibrium.
Yeah, I like the Red Ale as well. I've always been a big Red Ale fan. It's great. It's got a little bit of hoppy to it to an extent, but not like over bitter.
Right.
But I would say, I see a lot of people have been drinking that as well. And when we talked to Chuck, that was what he was pushing for, to make a really good Red Ale, and he's succeeded tremendously. It's awesome. Anybody, even if you've never had a Red Ale, or even if you're not a big fan of Red Ale, I think you'll like their Red Ale. First of all, there's not a bad beer here that they've made. Every beer is very drinkable. Like I said, we're not big IPA guys, but even the Hops Against Humanity, very enjoyable. But the cryo hop, he made a really smooth IPA, and not a lot of places do that, like that, because they're usually traditional with what people like. So
Right. Yeah. Chuck told us that in his experience with, exploring breweries in the area, he wasn't able to find a red ale that he really liked. So he created one himself, which is something that he was interested in and passionate about. And so he actually created one that we like. And I'm not being biased or anything like that, but like everything I've had here so far has been good. I like some more than others. That's going to happen.
yeah,
But all of them I would drink. And like I said earlier, I started off with the Equilibrium first, or the Singularity. I keep getting those mixed up. Start with the Singularity, their blonde first, and then moved up from there. And now I'm having the Mind the Gap. English brown ales. I think I would usually drink Newcastle.
yeah, Newcastle.
Guinness is an Irish style. That's not really a
Yeah.
brown ale, but it's approachable, and that's his goal. That's why they have a full service bar here. If you want a cocktail, they can mix one up for you. If you want a whiskey neat, they can do that for you. They have several. They have Herman Marshall, TX, Angel's Envy. They have several high-end whiskey in there, as well as, from what I can see, high-end vodka as well, tequila. They have everything. So if you're not into beer, wine, you can always have spirits, and they can whip it up for you. They have a full service bar, nice guys behind the bar. Charlie and I know a couple of them, great dudes.
Oh yeah, Chris. Shout out to Chris, Anthony. They'll take good care of you here. But everybody behind the bar is phenomenal. Everybody in general here is phenomenal. Shout out to, of course, we had Jonathan on. He's the co-owner, founder. Michael, the chef. Everybody here is warm welcome. Everybody takes the time too, which is awesome, to talk to you during their stay. So it's just great. It's a very friendly atmosphere.
Right. Yeah, we're really enjoying it. Chuck and Jonathan are doing rounds, checking on everybody, asking them what they're eating, if they're enjoying the food. And Chris Harrison's actually been doing rounds too, talking to people, being really personable. And actually, he's coming out right now.
Yeah, he's coming out.
Right behind us.
So
he's been
doing
taking a
lot of photos. A lot of photos. He's been very photogenic tonight.
Yeah, I think they're trying to get. I think
More
they're trying to
photos.
get a picture of him with a lot of people behind him.
He's probably doing
To
more
show.
photos than his prom, maybe.
Oh, I see. Look, they're doing it with the Steam Theory staff.
Yeah, you might hear my mom in the background. She's a diehard Bachelor fan.
Yeah.
She's been kind of our coach tonight. So we're doing pretty good. So
I'm gonna take a quick picture. I'm gonna come join you guys.
all right.
Sounds
So
good.
that was Chris Harrison right there. He's taking photos. He will join us here second here on Brewing Conversation. We're really excited. Dallas guy, Lake Highlands. Host of the Bachelor, Bachelorette. Bachelor of Paradise is going on right now. So it's exciting to see a Dallas guy doing big things like that. And then he's investing in a place like Steam Theory.
Yeah, I always have high respect for celebrities that they don't forget about where they came from.
Yeah.
They invest money in communities, whether it's education or, in Chris's case, entertainment. It's great, and I think it's a smart business move on his part. He picked a great company to invest in. If it were me, I would have been ecstatic if I found out someone like him was endorsing what I was trying to work on. But he's in there taking promotional photos right now, and he'll be out shortly. And I'll be honest, I've never really talked to anybody remotely famous face to face, but Chris, he doesn't make it seem like he's like that,
It's pretty good. I mean, he's, very laid back, very awesome, very chill. So it's pretty good. Like, I'm excited. that he's going to join with this. And we're going to pick his brain about beer. We've seen him with the craft beer and that. Of course, we'll have some notable people here tonight from the Bachelor, Bachelorette, which is really exciting. So, really pumped.
Do you know who these people are that are
You
near us?
got Rachel right here from the Bachelor. Ed, she was a Bachelor. She's from Dallas. So, really exciting. So, here as well. So, yeah, I mean, actually, Dallas has been representing really well on the Bachelor and Bachelorette, which is awesome. Sean Lowe is here. He's working his way in the crowds tonight. maybe, who knows? Maybe we can get him on, get his opinion as well. What he thinks of the atmosphere. But it's an exciting time. It's packed.
Yeah, it's really starting to pick up now.
Is really good. Now, when we get him on, we'll probably pause for a second and we'll get him set up, and then.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I could work it to where I can do that because I'm not so sure.
So, or maybe we'll keep it going.
I think we can keep it going.
We'll keep it going.
We'll stop whatever we're talking about, and he'll sit down, and we'll just talk to him.
Take a picture.
Huh?
Keep talking.
Okay. So, anyway, so Charlie's actually taking a minute to step away, but we highly encourage you all to come out here and check it out. It's a great place to be. Great beers. They have great food. We've been enjoying ourselves. Charlie spent a lot of time here himself. Can't believe I said himself. Spent a lot of time here himself, and we're starting to see more media show up. We're starting to see actually people that have been on TV. Granted, I don't know a lot of who they are.
All right, we have the man himself.
All right, I had to change the setting on here. We have with us Mr. Chris Harrison, who you all know him from ABC's The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, probably numerous other shows that I don't even know about.
Who wants to be a millionaire?
Who wants to be a millionaire?
Bachelor Paradise.
Me. I'm raising my hand.
Yeah, I would really like that. That'd be.
How you guys doing? You enjoying Steam Theory and the experience?
Oh, we love it.
Opening night.
Open tonight. It's good. It's exciting. We're having Mind the Gap, the English Brown.
Mind the Gap.
So what kind of craft beer are you a fan of? Like, what's your style?
I was drinking the Singularity. Well, here's the thing. Right now, we have 7 on tap. There's 4 that are like, oh, so close that weren't quite ready to go. They'll be ready next week. But by, next month, we'll have 22 on tap.
That is awesome.
And Chuck, as you guys know, our award-winning brewmaster, he's a mad scientist. He's got, always going to be kind of ever-changing the menu, the beers, working with Michael Weinstein, our chef, who's also going to be kind of changing things up, farm to table. What you want to eat right now, sitting here in 98-degree Texas heat, is not what you want in December when it's 32 degrees. And so it's going to change, and Chuck's beers will change with the menu, and that's kind of the beauty of this place is Weinstein is doing simple food incredibly well, and Chuck's doing incredible beers that will kind of change, and you can have fun with it all year long.
Right. Yeah, as far you asked us how we like it, we love the atmosphere. We obviously love the food. I've never been to a place like this that has the caliber of food that we've experienced.
Well, that's the thing. You've been to breweries, you've been to brew pubs, you've been to the gastro pubs, and it's hard to explain. This is a brewery, and it's a restaurant. It's a brewery restaurant, and it's done in concert. And Michael and Chuck are working with each other, and they want to marry that together. And so they talk about what beers you're doing, what dishes are you going to create, how can we put these together. And so you can go that route, but at the same time, we had the full bar. It was important to me that we had a good wine list and a really good wine list as well. And so it's a fun place. And look, the layout of it, I wanted it to be about family. I've traveled the world, and anywhere I go, where places I love, whether it's Italy or Prague or whatever, Vietnam, it's all about family. It's all about that inclusiveness. And I wanted a place in Dallas where we're a bunch of good people, right? Everyone hangs out with everybody. So I wanted a place that, you could do your private thing, but for the most part, you're going to run into people and sit with other people that you're going to talk to.
Right. So what made you want to invest in something like this?
It's a terrible idea. The worst thing you can do, really. And the first thing my money manager said, he's like, what do you expect out of this experience? And I said, not money. He said, okay, good. I just wanted to make sure you didn't think you were going to make money on it. No, this really is a passion project and a hobby. It was about timing and karma and family. Michael Weinstein, who's our chef, is a very good friend of mine. We've known each other since we were born, family friends, and my grandmother, Hermine Salinger, I'm third generation Dallas, by the way, and when my grandmother passed away, I was sitting around with Michael one night talking about just reminiscing and catching up, and he said he just got involved with some guys, and they were starting up this restaurant, and we got talking, and we were drinking some wine, and we were eating some Jake's hamburgers, and at some point he said, we're looking for one more key player, and I just thought, what? My grandmother wouldn't have put me in this spot for no reason, and so the timing was right, and I got involved in this thing.
Now, Chuck has called it, an elevated craft experience. What do you think about that? Because it's not just only craft beer. Like Matt said, the food, even the wine, the cocktails,
I like that.
Everything.
Yeah, it's hard to not pigeonhole this place because the beers are awesome. And if you love beer and you're serious about it, you can come here and seriously enjoy a great time and taste. And I like what Chuck's doing too with the alcohol content. I don't know if he's talked to you guys about that, but for the most part, really low alcohol content in these beers, so you can taste them.
Yeah.
And you can have 5 or 6 different beers and taste them throughout the night and not be knocked on your butt. Because that's really what it should be about, is tasting these beers. But it is. It's, I guess that I like that description of it, because it's hard to encapsulate what Michael's doing with his food and the beers and the bar. Because, by the way, we have some great cocktails they're mixing up too.
And one thing I've noticed, like every beer so far, I mean, everything is drinkable. And like the IPA, like some people might not be IPA fans, but I said you're gonna be a fan of the IPAs here, and especially the when hops cryo, because it's very smooth.
Well, and again, look, if you're a vintner, if you're a brewmaster, you are a crazy mad scientist, and we're about to enter this season where these hops are basically going to be flown in fresh, and then Chuck will meet them at the airport. It's like this bizarre exchange in the black market, and they get these hops, drive straight here and start brewing with them because they're so fresh. It's almost like truffle season in France.
Yeah.
It's this very small window of opportunity, and that's the kind of stuff we're going to be doing here. But I like what you said about being drinkable. I walked in and I was tasting a bunch of the beers, and I grabbed the Mind the Gap. Not what you want to taste right out of the shot, but I still, it's full of coffee, it's full of chocolate, it's got the vanilla notes. Not what you'd want to drink at 3 in the afternoon, walking in, when it's hot, but it's still drinkable and it's really good.
And it goes with any of the mills here, really, honestly.
But the Singularity I love right now, and like you said, the Cryo is the same as that Singularity. It's a little something different with it. Or the IPA is the same as the Cryo, and they just put a little different spin on it.
We always like to ask everybody, what was your first craft beer experience? Do you remember the first craft beer you had? You're like, oh man, this is different.
My experience with beer, I really didn't get into it until I started traveling with the Bachelor, and it was going to Europe, going to Brussels, and going to Prague, and then going into Italy, and going to Germany, and being in Munich, and just drinking beers from around the world, but then also going to Asia and seeing what they're doing, which is completely different, and trying everything from ciders to the darkest beers you can imagine, and kind of experiencing it and getting a respect for it. You don't have to love it. I always say you don't have to love it, but try it and have a respect for what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, and what's cool about craft beer too, I've had a lot of friends that weren't originally beer drinkers.
Yeah.
They were like whiskey, wine, but you get them like the Singularity. I think that's like a perfect blondes and that.
Right.
I always say there's with craft beer, there's at least 1 or 2 beers that you can really enjoy.
Well, and it's if people will come in and experiment a little bit, because I think you're right. People will say, I'm not a beer drinker. Well, I'm a big wine guy.
Yeah.
And when you go down that rabbit hole, it's just like craft brew. It's like you go deep. And when people tell me I'm not a wine person, I'm like, well, no. What are you drinking?
Yeah.
I guarantee you I can find a wine you like. Maybe you just need a Pinot. Maybe you need to start with whites. Maybe you just need your varietal to match the weather and the mood and the food and all that. Same thing with beer. If someone came in and said they don't drink beer and you gave them that Mind the Gap that's in front of you right now, they would leave here going, I don't like beer.
Yeah.
Well, let me try a little something on you. Try the Singularity. Maybe that's too much. Let's back it up. We can find something that will fit your taste, and then once you get going, you will build up, just like I did with wine or whiskey or anything else. But what's really fun is no matter whether it's bourbons, whiskey, scotch, wine, beer, when you start understanding the way it's made and you get into it, it's exciting. You become a geek, and it's fun. They're like, okay, what do you taste? What was this made from?
Well, one thing that was cool is and Matt, you were talking about this, how the community gets together, all the other breweries and that.
Well, Dallas is a hotbed of brews. There's amazing brewmasters here in Dallas. The beer scene in Dallas is arguably as good as it is anywhere in the United States. And again, it's all about, customers. If the want is there, that want's going to be fulfilled by somebody. And so there's a huge beer scene in Dallas, and to be on this scene, Chuck better be dealing well, and he better bring it, because you get one shot to please this crowd, and they are a finicky crowd. And so far, I think he's done a good job of it.
Right. And he's talked a lot about making this an approachable place. Everybody will have something here. And I'm actually in the wine business myself. I'm a wine salesman. So when people tell me they don't like wine, I was like, I guarantee you there's something out there you like. If you don't like this Pinot, you're probably going to like another one that someone else makes. There's a lot of possibilities. Right. So I always encourage people, try something new. Yeah, you might like it.
Try different places around the world. Maybe you don't like Bordeaux, but maybe try Italy. try Napa, I mean, there's hell, I live in California. There's 9 different places now. I mean, Malibu is doing wine. Not great wines, but we're doing wines in Malibu and Santa Barbara and St. Inez and Paso Robles and Sonoma, all the way up the coast into Washington, Oregon, all that. And so there's so much wine, and same thing with beers. And I like the fact that Chuck's kind of an outsider. He's a West Coast guy, brings his little spin to this, and he's gonna put his little twist on it and see what people think.
Well, especially with the West Coast IPA and that. I mean, I mean, that's a good introduction here in that.
Yeah, a lot. I know it's West Coast IPAs are actually new to this area, so when people have them here, they're shocked and they're surprised that it's here. And I think that's great. You're bringing something new to the environment, and I think that's awesome.
And what you're saying too, we have 7 beers on tap, but we have 22 taps, so we have a lot of guest beers.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have other people's beers here. I'm going to take a break because Charlotte Jones Anderson from the Dallas Cowboys just walked in.
Definitely. We'll bring you right back.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, yeah. So that's Chris Harrison here. He's a very busy man today, so we're exciting to have him on right here tonight. Craft beer. So we're still on. So Charlotte Anderson of the Cowboys is here, Dallas Cowboys. I'm sure my dad actually knows them very well.
So who is he going to talk to again?
Charlotte Anderson. Charlotte Jones Anderson, that is. Jerry Jones' daughter is here in attendance. My dad, season ticket holder, die hard, never misses a game. So he's going to be excited. But that was awesome having Chris Harrison on. Maybe we can have him again later on in the night or whenever he's back in town. He is right on the head. So
change that setting, will you, for me?
And,
I can't see it. Sorry for the clicking noise that's probably going on right now. But you have to have a lot of respect for people like Chris Harrison, people that invest in the communities that they're from. It's great. And honestly, if I had the cash, I would probably do something similar.
Same here. I love places like this, and Chuck, Jonathan, everybody here is so down to earth and sits with everybody. And you just want to see something like this really thrive. And what a great turnout. And I think it'll continue to be great beers, great food, great atmosphere. Steep Theory Brewing Company. Love the names. We're drinking Mind the Gap. They're one singularity, like Chris mentioned. Their IPA is Hops Against Humanity with Hops Cryo, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Punts galore. We're excited to be a part of this grand opening. Yeah, man.
Yeah, and then shout out to Chuck. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here tonight, covering your establishment along with Jonathan Barrows. We appreciate you guys giving us a chance to do this. I mean, we're a relatively young podcast, and to be able to interview people like Chris Harrison and Michael Petticolas and you, Chuck Homola, and Jonathan Barrows, we really appreciate it. It's great for us.
But everybody here is awesome. It's an awesome atmosphere. Come over here, Trinity Grows, Dallas, Texas, right out a little bit outside of downtown. A perfect spot, great parking. Today there's $1 off their beers, their drinks. It's a good special. Like I said, there's wine here, there's cocktails here. So it's fun. My mom's probably trying to find Chris Harrison. She's a diehard. Chris's biggest fan, I think.
I think she actually went inside to get some air.
So probably some air too.
Yeah.
It's funny because my dad is a big Bachelorette fan. And,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a big
Charlie Van Sr.
Charlie Van Sr. If you want to talk to ever the biggest Cowboys fan in the world, I don't think there's anybody like him. He's never missed a home game since 1976. So I always joke he's been married to the Cowboys longer than my mom.
So has your dad ever been? I noticed they media tend to get a hold of people that have been going to every single Cowboys game. Has he been featured in any media?
He has been. Back in 2009, I actually had a professor and instructor at my community college that worked for the Dallas Morning News. He did a story on my dad. I think there's something in the works. I can't release anything yet that we're trying to get done for this coming season. But yeah, he's done a story. It's funny. He's never missed a home game. He's been in 2 Super Bowls. My best friend, our friend, Ryan, he missed his wedding because he was at a Cowboy game because it was a home game. You won't miss a home game. my sister knew she had to get married not during Cowboy season.
Right.
So if I ever get married or have a kid, I know it can't be on a home game.
Right.
Or it's gonna, the hospital needs to be AT&T Stadium.
Yeah, your dad has been with the Cowboys through their ups and downs because he's a Florida native, right?
Yeah, he was a diehard Miami Dolphins fan. He did not like the Cowboys. They stopped their undefeated streak in 1972 to win the Super Bowl. The Cowboys moved to Dallas, just became a hometown fan. He went to Florida State, diehard Florida State. I grew when I was a newborn, I was in the Cowboys game. I've been through it all, thick and thin.
Right.
So I'll be there tomorrow for the preseason game.
Who are they playing?
I think they're playing the Cardinals. So I'm there all the time. So my life is like
It revolves around the Cowboys.
it revolves around the Cowboys. Every Thanksgiving I'm there.
At least every Sunday, right?
So maybe we'll get my dad on here in a second. It'll be a pull like that. So we're gonna get my dad on here because he's sitting next. I would love to interview him about his thoughts on the Cowboys. So take a seat, Charlie Senior. Charlie Senior here. So we just had Chris Harrison. Now we're gonna have my dad here. We were talking about the Cowboys, your fandom. What do you think about this season? I know Travis Frederick's out. It looks like it's pretty bad.
That's the big question right now. I think he's worth 3 games in the record, maybe even 4, because he protects Dak.
Right.
And we saw last year they had some injuries on the line and no consistency because of the injuries, and Dak was constantly under pressure in the passing game. And of course they didn't have Zeke last year for a good portion of the season. We saw what happened, but I was optimistic with Travis. Like a lot of people, I thought playoffs. And I saw one prediction. I think ESPN predicted the Cowboys to win the division and the Eagles to get a wild card. But I think now, obviously, it's a little more problematic.
Yeah, we've actually talked a lot about, Charlie and I have actually talked about the O-line being the weak part of the offense and how the quarterback, whether it was Romo or Dak later,
Right.
scrambling. And we know that under pressure, a lot of quarterbacks, they have to scramble. And, Dak's young, he can do it, but it's always good to have that kind of pocket and that time to really think about where you're going to throw the ball. So, do you think it's possible that the Cowboys can win the division?
I was telling someone else earlier that every Hall of Famer was a no-name at one time. So
Right.
you just have to, maybe this is being a little naive, overly optimistic, but you have to hope that somebody develops. And usually they do. Now, whether that's in the offensive line with Looney or, who knows. But again, you're missing a potential Hall of Famer if he had stayed healthy in Frederick. And so that's hard to replace.
Now, someone like you that's been a linebacker, what do you think about Leighton Vander Esch? Do you think he has a lot, from what you've seen, do you think he has a lot of promise?
Yeah, that's a tough position for a rookie. It's almost like a defensive quarterback where you have to recognize things, and he'll be good, I think, really good, really solid. I mean, on the defensive side, I think they have a lot of promise. Even this season, they're going to be better than last year. And now, they have to be. I mean, they can actually try to win games with the defense and hope to get turnovers and stuff like that. And maybe if the offensive production is not as great because of injuries, line problems, and not to mention receivers.
Right.
We don't know what's going to go on there.
Right. And you were talking about Gallup as...
Gallup, the wide receiver from Colorado State. I know you followed wide receivers a lot, and we lost Dez. Do you think, he's been catching 30-yard passes even in practice. Do you think there's a lot of potential? Do you think he's a third wide receiver? What do you see there?
It's hard to tell. I do think that I like Dez, but I think he was a little bit intimidating to Dak. And I know there were some plays where I think there were other receivers a better target on that particular play, but he forced it to Dez.
Right.
And a veteran quarterback probably wouldn't have done that.
You're right.
And now I think Dez feels probably a little more freedom, pressure off, and it's just for others to step up. I mean, Cole Beasley is going to be probably really productive, and that short passing game. I think the key was that touchdown pass in the last game against the Bengals that Dak just floated over there. I think that's going to be kind of the style.
Right.
And if they can do that, who knows?
Right. And I'm looking forward to this season with, Zeke not having any suspension to serve.
Yeah.
He's healthy. He's ready to go. It's always good to have that option to run the ball instead of throwing it. But I do like the option of us having wide receivers that can actually get something done. And, with Dak coming into this season, I think he'll have a little bit more confidence. He has more time to connect with the players over spring training. I'm confident. I'm not confident that they're going to make it to the Super Bowl, but I'm confident that they're going to do well.
Well, I want to get your opinion on Dak because we talked about this off the record, off mic. We both followed him. I think we were talking before he even became a Cowboy. I said, this is the guy to place Romo or be under him. Do you feel like he gets the respect he deserves? Do you feel like people are kind of jumping the gun, like overlooking him because of last season, counting him out? And what do you see as a quarterback?
Okay, in terms of respect, from what I'm hearing from people, close to the locker room, he gets the respect of his teammates,
right?
Which is really very unusual for rookies and now second year, and that's really what counts. The guy has tremendous character. He's a team leader, and if you look at his statistics, even from last year when he was in a so-called slump, he's still pretty good.
Right.
Really good. Mm-hmm. He just set such a high bar his rookie season, and it's hard to live up to that. A lot of athletes, regardless if it's football, baseball, basketball, they tend to go in a slump in they call it the sophomore year, their second season, and then they bounce back. So, no, I think he's going to be fine. Yeah. I saw him play in college at Mississippi State. That's where my daughter went. In fact, I'm going to a game there Saturday, and quite frankly, he looks a lot better for the Cowboys than he did at Mississippi State.
Right.
Do you think
they didn't have that line at Mississippi State?
Yeah. Do you think it's kind of good though that I remember several years ago. This was maybe a sophomore year. He was in early talks for the Heisman, and then of course they lost to Alabama. A lot of things. Do you think it's good he kind of went the route he did, just on his progression? A lot of times with things first round, you're already seeing it with Baker Mayfield. Maybe Tyrod is going to be the first guy, but there's still that pressure. Do you think it's good he went the route he did?
When you're playing college football in any of your division, you have Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Texas A&M. I mean, that's good experience.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's adversity, and he can handle it.
Now, what do you think about the O-line? I mean, hopefully, Crawford stays healthy. They got a great rookie out of UT. Are you wishful thinking there? Do you think it's going to be steady?
Well, at the very least, we may see kind of a repeat of last year when we had, Martin was out. We had several. I don't think we had the line intact for more than 2 games, and they were pretty competitive, at least. This team is capable of making the playoffs, regardless of the line, because with Zeke makes a difference.
Right.
But, I had expectations of a Super Bowl. They have to alter that a little bit, but, we'll see.
Well, and let's look at Sean Lee. And coming from the defense experience, you come from the classic smash mouth era. Sean Lee is an epitome of that. He talked about recently about how you need to be there in the preseason. If you can practice, you can play. How do you feel smart that is, though? I mean, we get it. He needs the reps. But with the injury prone and that, do you think it's smart enough to play all the preseason?
Okay, I'll tell you what Sean Lee said after the game the other night. They asked him, they said, given Zach Martin's injury and on and on and on, should you have been out there? And he said, I got to play because the speed in practice isn't nearly what it is in a game, and this is still preseason. Come September 9th, it's even going to be faster. He said, I want to play. And football's football. You could be hurt in August, you could be hurt in September, October. You know, you just have to play. Now, having said that, you know, I've seen teams in preseason play starters late in the fourth quarter.
Right.
You know, like the third game, like we're in this week.
Yeah.
And I have some questions about that.
Right. I'm kind of curious to ask your opinion on this. You know, last year, Super Bowl, it was the Patriots and the Eagles. Who were you going for in that situation?
Okay. I have a Twitter account, and as a Cowboy fan, I said I'm rooting for the Eagles. They're in our division,
Right.
and I'm a loyal Eagle. I got so many nasty tweets saying
man,
I'm
I
a
bet.
traitor, and the reality is I don't like the Patriots.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm certainly no Eagles fan, but I don't like the Patriots.
Right. So it's kind of like the lesser of the two evils.
Yeah,
Because you know, when I was actually watching the game, because the Eagles were in our division, I was like, I don't know if I want the Eagles to win, but they ended up winning. And watching what Nick Foles did as a second string
good
quarterback,
story.
I was like,
Oh,
I have
yeah.
respect. I can't.
Yeah.
They worked so hard for that, and I think they earned it.
Oh, I think so too.
It was
I
a
mean,
great game.
I'll predict one thing. There will be a movie made about Nick Foles.
I guarantee you there.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Well, before you came on, we were talking about how you were a Dolphins fan, diehard, did not like the Cowboys. They defeated.
Oh, I hated the Cowboys.
Hated the Cowboys. Broke their
They
undefeated
beat us
streak.
in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the
I hate
undefeated
it. So unnatural at that
1972.
point.
So how does somebody who dislikes the Cowboys come down and become such a diehard Cowboys fan? So, because we always joke about it, I mean, he's never missed a game, a home game, since 1976.
Yeah, 43 years now.
Yeah.
43rd season.
How does somebody go from hating a team so much to becoming the biggest fan that doesn't? And Charlotte Jones Anderson's here today, so
Is she?
yeah, she's
Yeah.
inside. Chris Harrison left to talk, so we got to
He
get
saw
you
her,
guys
he's like, I gotta go.
connected.
I taught her son.
So we got to get
really?
them connected tonight and say this is the guy that's filling your stadium in your house. But
Yeah.
how did a Miami Dolphins fan become a diehard Cowboys
Well,
fan?
I was spoiled as a Dolphins fan. We won 2 Super Bowls when I was a season ticket holder, went undefeated, and I came to Dallas in '76, and I decided I'm a free agent fan. You know, I had my 2 Super Bowl rings as a fan, and so I said, you know what? I'm a Cowboys fan. I live in Dallas. I'm going to be a Cowboys fan, and we, the Cowboys, quickly won another Super Bowl, and you know, I've had 1 in 15 seasons as a fan, and you know, I enjoy it.
Right.
You know, I don't enjoy 1 in 15 as much as 13 and 3, but
Right.
still, you know, it's fun, and the experience is fun.
Right. You know, and Cowboys are such an influential franchise, and they
Yeah.
have been for so long. I mean, when I was a kid, and you know, Charlie and I are the same age, we're only a month apart. You know, I can still remember the '90s and the Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Jay Novacek days. I still remember that. And that's stuck with me.
Right.
And I always cling that, you know, they'll make it. They'll get back to that point. It's just going to take time. And you know, these past couple of seasons, you know, when someone says, "Oh, you're a Cowboys fan," I was like, I don't care. I am. I've lived here my entire life. You know, not a Texans fan, that's for sure.
Well, you go around the country, and when the Cowboys are playing on the road, the
yeah.
Cowboy fan turnout's incredible.
You see jerseys out in the stands.
I mean, it is the franchise. They're in movies and that.
Right.
And so, my dad is a very mystic teller because when I was a kid, he's also a diehard Florida State Seminoles fan. And you remember this. He told me, and I think it was, I don't know if it was the national championship, but it was a Cotton Bowl. or it was in one of the college bowls. Charlie Ward, who should have been an NFL player, went NBA. Florida State quarterback. You said he's going to break his ribs right here. He's going to get hurt on this play. He's going to break his ribs. And what happened?
Broke his ribs.
So misses. So if anyone knows the game, so what came to that? I just remember that as a kid. It's like, yeah, my dad predicted like Charlie Ward.
It was a style of play, and you could tell. I think it was late in the game. The line was tired, and I thought, oh no, you can't run those type of plays and expose the quarterback. And I thought, oh, he's going to get hurt, and he did. Yeah, unfortunately.
And were they blitzing at that point?
Yeah, they were blitzing. They weren't picking up the blitzes. I think the line was just gassed, and
you can just tell.
Yeah, you can tell. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know Tony Romo as a commentator.
Yeah.
He has a knack for saying they're going to run the ball right.
Yeah.
They're going to run the left. He's going to throw it here. I heard he's pretty accurate too. I actually haven't seen him on TV.
Oh, he's very predictable, and I think it's just knowing the game. Like you can call plays ahead of time. You played for Carl Gables. They were 2-time state champion during your time, right?
Well, they went four times. In
4
6
times.
Years,
Yeah. But during your time, you won a state title. Your brother won a state title. Ended up playing for Florida for a year. So you kind of see that. Do you when you see some of these constant injuries, playing for your time, do you question some of the strength and conditioning, the dial back?
Well, I think one of the things, and this is factual, when you look at the rosters in 2018 compared to 1998, the size is significantly different. The athletes today are bigger, stronger. A lot of people don't know this. Dak Prescott is 241 pounds. He could have been a linebacker 20 years ago.
He's a big guy.
So how tall is he? He's well over 6 feet.
6'5", 6'6".
He's a big guy.
Yeah, he is. And we don't notice it as much because they don't really stand out.
Right.
Athletes are bigger, stronger, and faster, and we know that because of the 40 times. They're quicker now, and you have a collision.
It's gonna hurt.
It's gonna hurt. Yeah. I just think it's a product of better physical strength and speed and
nutrition and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you were coaching this team right now, what would your approach be, the Cowboys?
I think, basically what they're doing is probably the smartest. I think they're really gearing up with the defense. I think with a good, solid ground game. Now, again, the X factor obviously is Travis Frederick, but they may be able, with Zeke, to still ball control. I'm sounding like the 1970s Dolphins,
but maybe that's what they need.
Yeah,
Right.
And football goes in cycles, and you have an emphasis on a strong passing game, West Coast type offense, and then the defenses catch up, and then you've got to change. And I think Garrett's smart. A lot of times I get really frustrated with him, as you know, Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to ask you what you thought about Jason Garrett as a coach.
It's too early to tell. I saw a thing in the Dallas Morning News recently where they compared Garrett's first few seasons to Tom Landry, and Garrett's actually ahead of the game statistically.
He's very football IQ. I mean, and who knows the Cowboys better than him? I mean, back up to Troy Aikman.
Right.
I think he gets a lot of pressure on him. I think anybody who takes this coaching position, whoever
it's
it is,
it's a tough job.
It's a tough job.
Yeah. Especially when you have Jerry looking over your shoulder.
It's definitely true. So that's why if we meet Charlotte, we're going to pitch Charlie Van Senior here to be the head coach. He's got a lot of approach here. So, but no, it's tough. But I feel like there's a lot of promise here, a lot of potential. I think the big thing is health. That's always the thing, and just smart play calling. But sometimes it's tough. I mean, I think it's one of those things. You always think you know what's best, and it's a gamble every time. But health is a big thing. How healthy can this O-line stay?
Let me say this. I do think the AT&T Stadium helps them because when you're playing in the excessive heat like they used to this time of year, it takes a lot more to recover, and there's a greater chance for injury.
Right.
And so practicing at the Star indoors and playing indoors does help for longevity. And I think that's where teams like the Dolphins, and they're one of the few, maybe Tampa Bay, that play outdoors in hot weather, they seem to trail off as the season goes on. And I think it's a cumulative effect from that early season stress.
Right. I could believe that here. I can't imagine them doing that. I was actually just thinking about, the thought just occurred to me about Jason Garrett as a coach, and then but before that, Tony Romo. Charlie and I both really like Tony Romo as a quarterback. Statistically, he was one of the best.
Right.
A lot of people don't think that. What did you think about Tony Romo's tenure with the Dallas Cowboys?
Oh, I thought he was really great. Like Danny White. Danny White. Well, he got to the NFC Championship game, but unfortunately for Tony, it was just timing. He didn't have the collection of talent around him like Aikman had, Staubach had, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know how effective those quarterbacks would have been, Aikman and Staubach, if they had Romo's collection of talent.
Right.
Football is all about chemistry. Yeah.
Right.
It really is.
Yeah.
And you have players that can make other players better.
Right. And we've kind of talked about that too. We had said that the head coaching job for the Dallas Cowboys is tough, but I honestly think the quarterback job is pretty tough too.
It's pretty tough.
People put a lot of blame on the quarterback when he's like, look what he's looking at. Like Charlie and I, we know enough about the game that we can look past them. Like, no, his O-line is so perforated. He's running around trying to figure out where he's going to throw it. And the older Tony got, the harder it was for him to scramble like that.
Do you feel like, even between Romo with Dak, you saw the comments last season, do you think it was very unjust and unfair, the amount of, because that season he started, everything was finesse. It was great. He's the new, and then last season it just wasn't progression.
Well, fans, especially Cowboy fans, throughout the NFL, their own fandom of various teams are passionate. They want to win. And again, Dak set such a high bar his rookie season, and the expectations were that they're going to go to the Super Bowl, and we saw what happened. But you got to, if you read Twitter and look at just the average fan, that's kind of like white noise. Look at what the experts say. People who quarterbacked in the league that are in the media now, they like that. And the fact that this franchise basically is putting all its eggs in one basket says what, people who know football, Garrett, they have a lot of optimism for that. And, again, the guy has the it factor in so many ways. The fact, and I'll come back to this point, the fact that a rookie can command the respect of a team, that says a lot. That doesn't happen very often in the NFL.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, finally, I want to say this. You mentioned Dez earlier. He denied Cleveland Browns deal. What's going to happen with him?
That was a $5 million deal.
Yeah, that was a $5 million deal. I mean, you mentioned you like Dez, but obviously the money, it's going to be hard to get somebody who's going to pay that unless somebody may be injured. Do you think that's the only time we're going to see Dez on the field, or do you think somebody's going to meet in the middle? It just doesn't seem, it seems very up in the air right now.
I think Dez will be playing again. I think you're right. Injuries do happen, and somebody is going to get desperate, and it could even be the Cowboys.
And that's one thing I want to mention. I mentioned before, I think this is a stall out. I think we could possibly, I'm not going to say for sure, see Dez back as a Cowboy. I think this was a testament saying, look, we like you, but there's other spots we need to fill with your payment. And I'm going to be honest, you're not right there with franchises. Not that you can't be. You've had your injuries. I think that's a big thing. We talked about that. But we can show that you're I don't want to say the word expendable, but we're willing to depart ways we don't want to. but we're gonna have to, and financially, we need to fill these gaps like a Leighton, like all these, like we're still looking at Earl Thomas possibly to grab things that will really help us. But the door is always open. I don't know where the door is open with the Cowboys, but that would be a best case scenario.
Yeah, I think one of the keys is if Frederick is out for any period of time. I mean, his career could be over. We don't know. That's
he's
a
got
serious disease.
yeah.
And it depends on who can replace him. And if they find that they can't get an adequate replacement, then they're going to have to spend that money on the line.
Well, in what better way than, here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to play devil's advocate. What better way, here's your two guys. Nothing against Terrence Williams. I like you, Terrence Williams. But Michael Gallup and Des Bryant.
Could be. I mean, I'm not ruling anything
That's a good
out.
leadership role for Michael Gallup.
Yeah, I'll say one thing about Dez, and we talked about this last season. He had a very severe foot injury in one game, and he was going to be out for several weeks, and he didn't miss any time. He came right back, but he was never the same. And I kept telling Charlie, the guy is playing hurt. Why doesn't he tell the press? He didn't, but he's never been the same. And
Well, also, real quick, also, Rico Gathers. I know Jason Witten's gone. He retired. It looks like Rico Gathers is going to be the guy in that spot. What do you feel about him? The pressure that's going to be. I mean, it's hard to fill a Jason Witten. He's very classic, old school, one of a kind. Do you think we should just honor that in general? Do you think he's gonna?
he's the type of talent that it's the X factor. Basketball player, converted to football, and right now he's not someone that you can count on.
Yeah.
So they may end up parting ways, and they may regret it down the road. We don't know. That could be one of these things you look back on and say the Cowboys had a Hall of Famer they let go. I don't know that that'll happen, but certainly he has the possibility of really becoming an impact player. But right now he's too green, and they've got some immediate need for productivity at wide receiver.
Well, and I think, it's hard. Like, when you have a stellar tight end like that, it's really irreplaceable. But you need just someone who can get you that first down. But I do think they're modifying for a guy like Cole. And they kind of were last season, too. We knew the end of Jason Witten. As sad as it was going to come. So you saw they're moving more to Cole. And a guy like Gallup, they can get 30 yards. Like, that's progression right there. Then you got a guy like Tavon Austin. Like, what do you think about his role? And then you got Hearns as well. What do you think about both those?
Well, definitely they have potential with this team. And, I think the style of offense that Garrett's going to employ this year is going to play to their strengths, and I just think they're going to, I don't look at the wide receiver core as being a real concern.
Now, coming up, they're playing Carolina in their opening game away. It's been a while since they've been away, and they've usually hosted first. What do you think about that matchup as someone, not just a football fan, but I consider you really right there as an expert? Do you think that's a good matchup going to open the season? I know they got the Giants at home on 16th.
As much of a Cowboy fan as I am, I think they're 0-1. But there are a lot of teams that have been 0-1 and won Super Bowl. So they just haven't played well against Carolina historically. And, Carolina, who knows? I saw something briefly about Cam Newton today. I don't know if he's hurt or something. I just saw across the wire. I didn't get the full thing. But, Carolina was in the Super Bowl just a little while ago, and they still have a pretty good nucleus.
Well, the season with Dak, they lost the first game against the Giants, and then look, they went 13-3. Anything can happen. That first game, look at the Patriots. Horrible loss to Kansas City last year. Went on to go to the Super Bowl, though they might have won it. But it's your adjustment period. Do you look at kind of like that too?
Well, the thing that is different right now is the game plan for tomorrow night looks like they're going to have Dak sit, and a lot of the offensive veterans sit because of the situation with the line. They don't want to have a backup line and get Dak hurt, Zeke hurt, and this is the dress rehearsal game, and they got a game 4 days later on Thursday in Houston. And so you're going to have a real unique situation of having basically almost like college football, where September 9th is going to be the first time that their offense at least have played as a unit. And that's going to be a little unusual.
Yeah, for sure. Now to switch gears for a little bit, we've been talking about the Cowboys for a while. I went to the bathroom and came back, and these guys were still talking about the Cowboys.
We were on,
So about this place, have you had any Steam Theories beers tonight?
No.
Oh, you haven't?
Charlie vouches.
Yeah.
It's great. My wife says great. The food is fantastic.
It is good.
It is
Very good.
Yeah.
What did you have to eat tonight?
I had a salad with pecans and vinaigrette, and it was just tremendous.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were told before we even had a chance to eat here that, they have a chef, straight up chef back there that he really knows what he's doing. Everything's seasonal.
Right.
spot on.
The menu changes constantly. Sometimes he's just back there trying to invent new stuff.
Shout out to Chef Michael. Does a wonderful job.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be upfront and honest. The meals, they cost a little more, but
they're worth it.
It's just like what they say is you get what you pay for, right?
Yeah.
And that definitely applies here. So,
Well, Dad, I want to thank you for joining us here.
enjoy
Charlie
it.
Senior, here is his Inside Cowboys. I think we spent half an hour. It's
I'll
good.
see you tomorrow night.
I'll see tomorrow night, Cowboys game. We'll probably wrap up here in a second. We're excited. It's a great atmosphere. It's really packed right now. Here at Steam Theory, we got Bachelor contestants here, Bachelors, Bachelorettes. Had Chris Harrison here. We're enjoying the beers. Come out, Steam Theory Brewing Company out here in Trinity Groves in Dallas, Texas. Matt, do you have anything final you want to add to this?
no, I think it's really starting to pick up now. We're inching towards 8 o'clock, starting to finally cool off here a bit. And I went in there. It's loud.
It's booming.
It's booming. They have some company for sure. But we encourage you all, if you already haven't come out to Steam Theory, come out. It's a great place to be, great environment, and they do have TVs that have various sports on. I'm looking up, I see soccer. I'm looking to my left, I see preseason football going on. And their goal is to make this an all-inclusive bar.
So,
and a place where you can grab a bite to eat too. So encourage you to check it out. They have merchandise you can buy, shirts, hats, things like that. And it won't be any problem if you guys come out.
How did the interview go?
we're still good. You want to join real quick?
Oh, sure. What are you guys still recording?
Yeah, we're on.
We are. We've been chatting about
We've been chatting. We're
all
still
kinds of
going.
stuff.
Do you guys air this live?
No,
We're pre-recorded. We're
Okay,
but
excellent.
we're
I
good.
was like, who's out there?
I wish we had the means to do that, but unfortunately we don't. So take a minute to introduce yourself and what you do.
Sure. My name is Tiney Ricciardi. I am the beer writer and editor for GuideLive.com. And yeah, that's what I do.
Go ahead and plug your podcast if you want.
I am starting a podcast. It's called Grapes and Grain. I'm very excited about it. The genesis was my best friend is studying to be a master sommelier, and I am working on my beer judging certification program. So I figured, we got to drink a lot along the way. May as well record all the facts that we learned so that we don't forget them.
Yeah, I actually have a friend that's doing the same thing, trying to become a master sommelier. That is one of the hardest things you could ever do.
Yeah, it's really interesting though. She motivates me. I hear the way she talks about wine, and I'm like, oh God, I want to think that deeply about something.
I know, right? And then, beer has something similar. It starts with a C.
Cicerone,
that's right.
Yes.
And I think Chuck's actually a Cicerone, and I think Jonathan's a Cicerone.
Yeah.
They have their certificates mounted on the wall in there.
Yeah. So, What got you started on actually joining the podcast world? They kind of talked to us earlier off mic, but you can go ahead and tell everybody.
Well, so I've been a writer for a really long time, and I think just part of my creative growth, I wanted to start exploring other mediums. I've done a little bit with video, but audio really intrigues me just because of the way you can tell a story with natural sound, and it's just a sort of a different thought process, storytelling process. So that's what really intrigued me.
Yeah, and this is like a natural environment. Instead of looking at words on a page, you're hearing people, the murmurs and the chattering in the background and all that.
Yeah,
so
it's really fun.
It kind of makes it feel like you're more there.
It can be like both informative and immersive at the same time. And
Right.
I find that I also retain information a little bit better when I listen to it in a podcast. Sometimes better than, if I'm reading words on a page. And let's be honest, in my line of work, I have realized that the data proves that fewer and fewer people are reading things.
Yeah,
It
that's
happens.
a sad fact. I've actually committed myself to read a lot more lately. I'm currently reading the Game of Thrones series. That's a meaty series, but I love it. And you look at it, it's like 500 pages. It seems daunting, but it's a good read. Just plug that in there real quick.
Well, what's your thought overall about Steam Theory Brewing Company?
I actually really like what they're doing. We were talking earlier, one of my friends was here talking about how there are a lot of breweries in DFW, and there are some brew pubs, fewer brew pubs, but the food generally that you find at a brew pub is not elevated to a certain standard, which is great. I mean, I love casual dining, anything that really tastes good and has great flavor, but what they're doing here, and I realized tonight when I looked at the menu for the first time, is that they're really sort of taking that to an elevated, it's almost a gastropub level, and I think that's really unique. You talk about the market crowding and there being more beer makers than ever in the country and in DFW. How do you set yourself apart? I think the food here is going to do that for Steam Theory.
Right. Even when you look at the menu, you can tell it's already an elevated kind of experience. And then even the presentation, when I got it, I was like, I feel like I'm at a 5-star restaurant.
Sure.
Which is unusual for, a place like this.
And just the creativity. We had pasta with tomato sauce, but instead of using red tomatoes, they used yellow tomatoes.
It's so good, that pasta
And they
here.
smoke it.
Smoked. Oh.
Yeah, it's a completely different depth of flavor than you're used to if you just order spaghetti at a restaurant. So.
Do you remember your first craft beer experience?
I do. Yeah, actually, and I didn't know that it was craft beer at the time. Actually, it may not be considered craft, but I did a semester abroad in Europe, and I studied in Spain, but I went to Germany because I have family there, and I will never forget the first Paulaner Hefeweizen I ever had.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I took a sip of that beer, and this was back when I was like, Bud Light's better than Keystone. So,
The ultimate conversation about it.
exactly. I was like, Bud Light, screw Coors Light, screw Miller Light. That was my spectrum of beer that I was drinking. So I had this Paulaner Hefeweizen, and I just looked at my friend that I was traveling with, and I was like, this tastes like candy beer.
Yeah.
It was so good tasting. That's the only way I knew how to describe it. So.
Yeah, and a lot of places in Europe have been brewing beer for hundreds of years.
Oh yeah.
And they've perfected it. It's kind of like wine. As you know, Italy, France, they've been making wine for a long time. And, California is still in its infancy if you think about it like that.
Oh, absolutely.
So you don't have to say what specifically is your favorite wine, but when it comes to red or white, what do you prefer?
I used to be, my answer to this question would always be red.
Same.
However, I didn't think that I liked white wine, but then I went to Napa for a trip in the last couple of years, and I found out that I just don't like shitty white wine.
Yeah.
I love good white wine.
Yeah,
so I would say it depends on the time, the place. Just like a beer, what style am I in the mood for is going to depend a lot on my environment.
Right, and that's, when it comes to white wine, I'm the same way. I think the only one I've liked so far is Wagner family. They have Camus, wines like that. They have one called Conundrum White that's actually really good, and they also have a red as well.
Excellent.
Pretty
Yeah,
good.
the white wine, if I'm going for white wine, I always feel comfortable buying a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, they do it best.
I really love the rounded, sort of less acidic type of profile they have. My friend who I do the podcast with, she describes it as minerally.
Oh,
it's really
It is the
green.
soil they have there. A lot.
Yeah, really round and just luscious. I love it.
Yeah. So one of our most popular ones that my company sells is Kim Crawford.
Okay.
That's a big one that they're pushing, but they also do other stuff too. But whenever people ask about Sauv Blancs, I always tell them go New Zealand because they know what they're doing. They have the right climate, the right soil, the minerality.
Yep.
They have everything they need over there.
Yeah, I can spend $15 on that bottle of wine and feel like I'm going to enjoy it.
Right.
As opposed to, what I was drinking in Napa was way more than that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we can branch off from other interests besides just beer and wine. So, what kind of music do you like?
Oh goodness, my approach to music is sort of like my approach to beer and wine. Like I will try anything once. I don't have a specific preference. I really enjoy a good catchy melody, but I also really enjoy deep lyricism.
As a writer, I could see that.
As a writer, I also love funk music. I was a dancer for the first 18 years of my life, so I love anything with a really good beat.
Did you do hip hop?
I did. Well, I did sort of everything. I was on the drill team in high school, but I started out doing ballet, tap, jazz, lyrical hip hop. I also love hip hop music, again with the deep lyricism type of thing. So anything the storytelling, anything that has a good beat that can make me move, that's intelligently intriguing. Again, I love it all. I love country music too. So
yeah.
That has a lot of those elements.
Well, if you like hip hop, there's a Dallas rapper named Boom, Boom 1000. He's actually opened up for Bone Thugs and Harmony and Juicy
really?
J. He has a big following out west. He's originally from Marietta, Georgia, right outside Atlanta, but really good side.
Excellent.
So if you like hip hop, it's got to venture
I
into.
definitely
So.
do. My favorite artist at the moment sort of fuses all of those elements. Have you guys heard of Anderson .Paak?
No, I haven't.
Sounds familiar.
He's amazing. So not only is his main thing sort of hip hop, he also does a lot of really sexy, smooth R&B. He's also a drummer. So if you ever see him live, not only will he be rapping, dancing, singing across the stage, he gets behind the drum kit. A lot of those really infectious beats, it's worth checking out.
So are you a Dallas or Texas native or anything like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up around here. Grew up in a suburb of Dallas, and then I went to school in Dallas, and I've lived in the city proper for the last 12 years.
Okay. Yeah, Charlie's a Dallas native.
Nice. We
Don't
went to
like
South
Highlands.
Lake.
Oh, nice. Yep.
Big football
The Dragons,
school.
yeah,
Go
South Lake Carroll, dominant state champions for a long time.
That was right. That was my high school career. As I said, I was on the drill team. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that is a football mecca.
Yes. Yes.
Big time over there for sure.
Back when the old Cowboys Stadium was around, we used to play
good old
playoff games there.
Rest in peace, Texas Stadium. It was good.
Yeah.
I miss that stadium a little bit. Not during the summer because it was hot. Like it was hot, or in the winter, or any time where the roof was open and it was bad weather. That was not the time.
So literally, probably there was one time.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
October, November. Too bad the sport doesn't go until March.
I talk to a lot of people outside of the state, and I say, not only does it get crazy hot here, it gets really cold.
It gets really
and
cold too.
wet
Not
and
like
cold.
recently, but
Not recently.
traditionally.
Winter's been hibernated for the last several years.
Yeah.
Hashtag global warming is fake.
Yeah, they always say if you don't like the weather in Texas, just wait a few hours.
Yeah, just wait a few hours.
Yeah. Well, it's been super humid this summer.
Yeah, it's been really hot.
Yeah, I've got like the butt sweat.
We're out
rocking
here,
right now.
96 degrees on a patio, sweating, doing this podcast.
Glad that I got my
Well,
picture with it before.
thank you very much for joining us. We'd love to have you on for a full hour.
Absolutely.
And
I can't wait to figure out some ways we can collaborate.
All right.
that'd
Well,
be
thank
great.
you very much.
AKA
Thank you.
drink beer.
Yeah, drink
Sure,
beer.
yeah.
That's the best.
And wine, we could do both.
Yeah,
We do-
absolutely.
try
I've been
both.
known to double fist.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's the best
great.
way. We'll
All right,
have a
have
good
a good one.
evening.
Thank you guys so much.
So-
Thank you. Have a good night.
So we'll wrap it.
You can just say it.
Yeah, so I gotta use the restroom here. So we'll wrap up right now because it's getting packed. We'll probably mingle around. We have a group out here too supporting us. So
In other words, we're gonna drink more.
we're gonna drink more. You
Yeah.
know, there we go. 'Cause that's what you do when you come to a grand opening of a brew pub. And I gotta definitely run to the restroom. So this will be up soon, and we want to thank Chris Harrison. We want to thank Tiney from Guy Life and Grapes and Grain. We want to thank my dad, Charlie Sr., giving his football knowledge. And
Yeah,
So-
I think that will pretty much wrap it up.
Yeah.
Unless if my wife wants to come over here and talk for
Yeah.
a second.
well,
Do you want to come over here?
yeah.
Do you want to talk? Yeah.
Well, I gotta pee real quick. You can interview her, and then I'll come back.
Yeah, this is my bag. Not
I'll
that
be
my
right
wife's a bag, but you know what I mean. So this is my wife, Hillary. She's joining us at the very tail end of the podcast. Say hello.
Hi.
So you've had several beers tonight from Steam Theory. You're obviously feeling pretty good. You're smiling over there. So what did you think about what you had tonight?
It's good.
What is your favorite, you think?
What's it called? The first one.
Equilibrium?
No.
Oh, Singularity.
Yeah, that one.
Singularity, yeah, that's their blonde. That's probably one of the most approachable beers on their menu.
Good. I don't
That's
like blondes
good.
that much. But it's good.
You don't like puns?
Blondes.
Oh. I was like, okay, that was random, but whatever. So, talk about what you had for dinner tonight.
Steak.
What kind of steak? Was it the pecan smoked?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it was very good.
She's being an awkward
I don't-
turtle right now.
I don't even like collard greens, and even those were good.
Yeah, that's actually the same exact dish that I had the last time I was here. And looking at the menu, because, I'm not too big on, fish even really. And, they have halibut, but it costs a lot. But, we've talked about the food before with everybody. Do you think it was worth what it cost?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you had the chocolate cake, right?
Yes.
And what'd you think?
It was so good. I had to share it because it was so rich.
It's very rich. They
Yeah.
serve it cold, and I think they serve it with ice cream, right?
I actually couldn't tell what that was. I didn't know.
Have you had that many beers?
No. No, it had melted, but I honestly didn't even realize there was a
I
bowl
think
with
it's
it.
coffee. I think it
Okay.
was a coffee ice cream.
So, yeah, Tanner poured it on and said it was good.
Poured it on what?
The cake.
That would work. Chocolate and coffee usually go pretty well together.
Yeah. I'm glad I didn't go because if it's coffee, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody. Yeah, people on the podcast know that you don't like coffee. I've told them. Just fine. Coffee's not for everybody. It's pretty strong. But I mean, you drink strong beers yourself.
Yeah.
So have you had the Mind the Gap?
Yeah.
What do you think?
It was good.
Smooth for what it is.
Yeah. And you're right. It's good with the chocolate cake.
Wow, it pairs really well with it. It complements it pretty well. So I always ask people this whenever they come on. We just asked Charlie's dad this. We'll go ahead and ask you, what was your first craft beer that you ever had?
Oh gosh, I don't even know.
Probably Ziegenbock, Shiner, maybe. Back then when it was considered craft beer.
I mean, I think I learned to like beer on Ziegenbock.
Actually, I was the same way, except for I think I had a brief stint with Corona, got tired of it pretty quick, and then moved on to Ziegen because it's just a small step up if you want to talk about strength. And then of course Shiner, but Shiner I kind of pulled away from in recent years. But Ziegenbock is still, if I'm going to drink a Texas Bock, that's probably what I'll get.
Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else you want to say? She brought a lot of her coworkers with her today. They're all over there
did.
drinking. What do they think? Have they said anything? What do they think about the beer and all that?
I didn't ask. They've only been here for 20 minutes?
I see empty glasses, so I'm going to assume that they liked it.
Yeah. I'm sure they did. They like beer.
Yeah. Well, you asked if you could be on the show, and you got your wish at the very tail end. And this is where we'll end. Charlie's gone. Have no idea where he went. He's probably wandering. Might have to call Amber Alert, but we will all be back. I'm not going to say next week. It might be within the next month. We have a lot coming up, and we look forward to seeing you. So from here, we say bye. Hillary, say bye.
Bye.